What's going on, traders? In this video, we're going to go over a few stocks that I believe is going to go absolutely parabolic towards the upside and why you should trade them. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So first stock I want to talk about is Palantir. Now, me personally, I believe Palantir has an insane evaluation and is pretty overpriced in my personal opinion, and maybe its earnings changes that, but for now I do believe Palantir has a ridiculous evaluation and does not deserve to be this high. Unfortunately, the market doesn't care about what I think. Palantir doesn't care about what I think, so we're going to go over it anyway because I do believe Palantir has potential to see the 200s. Now, when we're looking at the daily time frame here, we see that Palantir has been trading in this range for quite some time, between 170 and 190, and it looks like bulls try to break us above 190 and hold, but they just could not make that happen. So obviously that's what we want to see. We want to see Palantir get above this 190 level and actually hold. Now today we ended up closing on a doji, which tells me that there's uncertainty, and so it's very much possible that heading into tomorrow we see a rejection towards the downside and we start filling these gaps at around 185. Lowest we're looking at is 180. Now, worst case scenario here is that we head lower and we retest this trend line here at around 177, 175 more or less, before continuing back towards the upside and see that break and retest of 190. Now, when we look at cheddar flow, right, something interesting happened here where we see a lot of calls coming in for January 15, 2027. These 210 strike calls with a premium of 3.6 million, 1.1 million, and 1.1 million. And so I do believe that this is very much possible where we do see Palantir head towards the 200s. Highest I'm looking at is about 220. Palantir does have earnings coming up. I believe it's next week. Yeah, next Monday. So something you want to pay attention to. I'm not encouraging you to play earnings. Do what you want, but if you're interested, feel free to screenshot this. Do what you got to do. The next stock that I want to look at here is Eli Lilly. Now, shout out to Bless in the Discord. He's one of our admins. He alerted calls on Eli Lilly. So far, we're in profit on this play. He alerted 900 strike calls, and it's looking good so far. And so I've been talking about Eli Lilly. Well, I actually talked about Eli Lilly a few weeks ago, where I believe Eli Lilly is going to see a price target of 905, and I still stand by that. So when we look at the daily time frame, we're breaking back out of this falling wedge pattern here. So you guys see that we rolled back into the pattern, and then we rolled back out of the pattern, and so it's looking like we're going to start heading towards, at minimum, 850, and then highest, or intermediate I should say, is 880, and highest I'm looking at is 905. But that's not even the best part. When we look at the weekly time frame here, and I mentioned this before, there's a massive bull flag here on Eli Lilly. And keep in mind, Eli Lilly has earnings coming up. I believe it's what, Thursday morning or something like that. See, I believe it's Thursday morning. Yeah, Thursday morning we do have Eli Lilly earnings, and as you guys can see, this flagpole is absolutely ridiculous. You're talking about a projected measured move towards 1500. Now, I'm not saying Eli Lilly is going to head towards 1500 for its earnings. I don't think that's possible. But I do think at minimum we could see a move towards 880. Highest I'm looking at is 905, at least for the short term. But when you're talking about long term here, Eli Lilly has a lot of potential if this plays out, if this bull flag plays out. So that's another play that I am looking at. Again, shout out to Bless for alerting this trade in the Discord. You want access to these types of trades, join the Discord. Link will be in the description below. And so next stock I'm going to look at is Amazon. So you guys know how I feel about Amazon. I think Amazon is very behind the Mag 7. It's extremely behind the NQ, and I still have a price target of 260. Now, interesting enough, we saw that Wells, I think this is last week, where our Discord bot alerted to us that institutions were loading up 250 strike calls for November 21st. So if you want to check those contracts out, feel free to do so. But when we go to the weekly time frame, we're already on the weekly time frame. We have this inverse head and shoulders pattern here. You have a shoulder here, head here, and another shoulder here. And when you zoom out, right, you guys know that I have a price target of 260 when it comes to Amazon. And the reason why I say that is because you have a rejection here, and if we continue to head towards the upside here, obviously with dips along the way, the highest point of this trend is at around 260. So I do believe that Amazon has a lot of potential to, I guess, beat its earnings or have really good guidance. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is that the Mag 7 has been pumping this whole time, and Amazon has just been falling behind. It's actually been dumping the whole time the Mag 7 was pumping towards the upside, or at least a good portion of the time, right? So hopefully you guys can remember that. Hopefully you guys remember just how bad Amazon was while, you know, Google was pumping or even Meta was pumping. You know, a lot of these big names were pumping and Amazon was falling behind the NASDAQ. And so I do believe that Amazon is going to want to catch up, and the perfect opportunity is its earnings, right? Either we see this move before its earnings or we see it after its earnings. I'm pretty confident that Amazon is going to see 260 between this week and next week. We'll have to wait and see. But when you go to the daily time frame here, right, you see that Amazon is breaking above this trend here. So what am I looking for here in order to enter this trade? Because keep in mind, I haven't entered this trade yet. So one, we broke this trend. We broke above 225, right? 224.6, 225 psych level. And so what I would like to see when it comes to Amazon, because the market is overextended. Don't get it twisted. The market is pretty overextended right now. But I would like to see Amazon retest 224. Lowest I'm looking at is this trend line at around 222, 221 more or less before I enter this trade. Right here where these guys are is where I would like to enter, right? Where all this turbulence is. And I believe these guys are going to hold Amazon up, and then we bounce back towards the upside. That's what I would love to see. And so right now, that's the move I'm waiting on. Hopefully I get that opportunity. If I don't, it is what it is. I have shares in Amazon, so I'm okay with that. But I would love to see Amazon retest this level. Now, another thing you can do is buy shares, right? I think Amazon is a great buy here. It was actually a great buy at around that 210, close to that 210, 213 range. But for now, again, Amazon, I do believe it's going to head towards 260. All right. Whether it happens for earnings, before earnings, after earnings, I can't say for sure, but I do believe that's going to happen in the near future. All right. So Amazon, Eli Lilly, what else do we need to go? We need to go over Nvidia. All right. So Nvidia. So right now, Nvidia is overbought, right? And I talked about this multiple times. I'm sure a lot of you are tired of me saying this, but Nvidia just has a hard time getting above these inside bar candles, right? So right here, right? Anytime these bars form or these, you know, bearish engulfing patterns, inside bar patterns form, Nvidia just has a very hard time breaking above it, right? And so we have proof of this where we look in the past. So right here, for example, Nvidia tried to break above it. We ended up breaking down. Eventually, we broke above it, but it took some time, right? And we zoom back even further here. We see even more inside bar patterns. So right here is another example where we tried to break above. We didn't really get close, and then we broke down. Same thing here. We tried to break above. We broke down. Same thing here. We tried to break above. We broke. You guys get the idea, right? So I do believe that if we're talking about more upside when it comes to Nvidia, it's very much possible we see a move towards 195.6 before seeing a rejection towards the downside. Now, I said this in another video. I believe it was the last video where I would like to see Nvidia retest 170. I think 170 is a good buy or a good dollar cost average opportunity. But if you're talking about much lower than that, like a really, really good buying opportunity, I would love to see Nvidia at 150. Now, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, right? I do believe the market is just going to continue to slow grind towards the upside, obviously with dips and, you know, maybe a correction along the way. So I don't think 150 is on the table, but I do think 170 is a great buying opportunity. And the highest point I do believe Nvidia, or at least the price target that I gave you guys on this channel, is 230. But now I'm leaning towards about 250. So when we look at the, what is it, the monthly time frame here for Nvidia, I mean, you zoom out, and I mean, the sky's the limit, guys. So right here, you have a rejection here, rejection here, rejection here. And so I do believe that Nvidia, I mean, its earnings is pretty far away, that if Nvidia sees that retest of 170, again, I think that's a good buying opportunity, and you can see a move all the way towards 230. Highest is probably 250, 260 more or less. So, you know, something you want to mark on your monthly time frame if you believe in trends. But yeah, a lot of upside left on Nvidia in my personal opinion. And so that leads me to talk about, you know, the indices and the futures. So I talked about this in a video before, right? Maybe a few weeks ago, maybe last week, something like that. But when you look at the monthly time frame, like I said, I said this before. I don't think we're anywhere near a crash. Now, can we get dips? Can we get corrections? Sure. But a crash or an AI bubble pop or anything like that, I don't think we're anywhere near that point. And like I said, I believe the NQ is going to see at least 30K by the end of this year, more or less, before we even consider a crash. And you're probably going to see the market dip. You're probably going to see panic happen here and there, things like that. And you're probably going to see YouTubers posting, hey, crash is here, or things like that. But me personally, I don't think we're anywhere near that point. So right here, we have 2007 highs, we have 2021 highs, and I believe we're going to head back towards this trend line all over again. Rejection here, and I believe we're starting to slow grind towards this trend line. Now keep in mind, this is the monthly time frame, so don't expect 30K overnight. I think I shouldn't have to explain that, but you'll be surprised on some of the people in my comments expecting the things I say to happen immediately. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to the NQ. I do believe we're going to continue to see more upside. Obviously, you're going to see dips along the way. You're not going to see this move happen all in one day or 1 week or anything like that. It's going to take some time, in my personal opinion. But I don't think we're anywhere close to a crash. The only signs of a crash that could potentially, or the only signs you should look for when it comes to a crash is when big tech stops spending on AI or cuts back on spending on AI. That's when you can start considering that, okay, maybe the AI bubble is about to pop. All right. So that's what we're looking at for the NQ. ES, I'm sure you guys are hearing these targets all over the place when it comes to the ES, 7K, 7,200, 7K, upgrade to 7K. You see it all over the place, probably social media, CNBC, whatever the case may be. And I have to agree. So when you're looking at the monthly time frame here, right? When you're looking at the monthly time frame, you have a lot of upside left here. I mean, you're talking about a move as high as about 7,500, if not more. And again, I don't expect this to happen overnight. And so again, you have a rejection here, rejection here, rejection here, and so I believe we're heading back up there all over again. So that's what we're looking at for the ES. Now, I forgot to mention this on the NQ, but when you look at smaller time frames, you're overbought. Okay, you're very overbought, and this isn't just for the ES or NQ. This is for the indices and a lot of the big tech names. You're getting pretty overbought. Now, this doesn't mean, oh, tomorrow start shorting. Okay, it doesn't mean that, because you can stay overbought for quite some time. Okay, when it comes to the futures and the futures and indices. So you definitely want to be careful here. All right, you definitely don't want to just start jumping into puts. I mean, do what you want ultimately, but for now, I will wait for more confirmation. Right. So we look at the SPY, because I'm sure a lot of you are asking, well, how high can the SPY go? And again, you look at the 4-hour time frame and below, very overbought, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are eyeballing this gap fill here at around 678, 680, more or less. And I will say this is a breakaway gap. Breakaway gaps take a long time to fill, all right, in comparison to the average gap. So we may not see this fill anytime soon. Maybe the SPY retests 680 and then we continue back towards the upside. Now, in order for me to really flip bearish here, right, I want to talk about this. I want to see us break below this breakaway gap. If we break below this breakaway gap, then yeah, we're probably going to see moves towards 670. We give up 670, then yeah, it can get pretty ugly from there. But we're not going to talk about that just yet. Just pay attention to this gap here. If we can start filling this gap, then the signs of a bear market is very much on the table, right? Because then we're going to see bears really get greedy here. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to the SPY. But for now, price target as far as the SPY goes, I mean, they can just continue to slow grind towards the upside. 690, 695, 700. I'm sure a lot of you are hearing that target all over the place. So yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to the SPY. Yes, it's overbought, but I mean, it can stay overbought for quite some time. Triple Qs. So I have a price target for the triple Qs at around 632, and then from there I really couldn't tell you. And you look at the 4-hour and below, overbought, right? You look at the daily time frame though, you're not really overbought at all. So I don't imagine we're going to see a pullback until the daily gets overbought, right? Until these daily time frames start getting overbought. But until then, we're probably just going to continue to slow grind towards the upside. I would love to see a dip. I would love to see a significant dip towards the downside, because this is getting insane. This is getting ridiculous. I mean, look at the daily time frame, rejection here, rejection here, rejection here, and you just gapped above it. You just destroyed everything. So yeah, I wouldn't chase calls, me personally. I would love to see a pullback. That's why I'm kind of like sitting back and just, gauging things out. But I mean, the market can just keep going at this point, guys. All right. So And that's what I'm looking at for the triple Qs and the SPY. I mean, same thing with the US 100, right? You go to the 4-hour time frame and everything's just overbought, right? It's just everything's just overbought. And you see here, we can stay this way for quite some time. So it doesn't necessarily matter. Now, we look at Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin pretty much is selling off because we were overbought for quite some time. Now, right now, we're looking at 115K. Bitcoin is having a hard time staying above 115K. A lot of you are saying 116K. That's fine. But I think a lot of traders are focused on 115K because it's a psych level. We get above 115K, then we can worry about 116K. And then from there, you're obviously looking at previous highs, if not all-time highs, right? So Bitcoin, I wouldn't go crazy on it just yet, right? Because these structures here are pretty annoying on a weekly time frame. I mean, this is a bearish structure, and you got a lot of this turbulence right here. So yeah, you want to be careful with Bitcoin before, you know, going all in here. That's just me. Do what you want. All right, and that's pretty much the video, guys. I really don't have much to say. We just continue to pump towards the upside. Congratulations to Discord members on trading Baba with me. We made a killing on that play as well. 180. We had 180 strike calls, and yeah, obviously the China and US deal pretty much played in our favor. So yeah, Apple is another play I put out today as a trade idea. 272 was my target there. Apple can head towards 280, in my personal opinion. Apple has a habit of pumping towards its earnings. So I wouldn't be surprised if it just continues towards the upside, slow grinds towards the upside, and hit a target of 280, right where this trend is. This is actually like 295, but yeah. So that's what I'm looking at for Apple. I mean, it's hard to be bearish. I mean, you look at Tesla, right? Tesla, I mean, as long as Tesla stays above 440, 500 is on the table, guys. 500 is on the table, right? And I'm sure a lot of investors are counting on this Elon package to come through. So yeah, something else you want to pay attention to. As long as Tesla stays above 440, 500 is the sky, the limit. I don't know where I was going with that, but you guys get the idea. So yeah, overall market looks bullish. You may see a dip, maybe FOMC, maybe one of the earnings causes a dip, but right now it's looking strong. Okay, it's looking strong. Me personally, I hate trading this high in the market, but it is what it is. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.